Get ready. Hold tight. It's
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit old for you, but
With that deep into Danny Roll, please don't click that.
Been truly horrific having this season away from home.
I want gold.
Anyone would think that we'd rehearse this, and I guarantee that we haven't.
How poor do we have to be before it's happened? How much blood from this stone does he have to get?
For Wednesday Week!
Ooh.
Like
Hello, and welcome to this very special episode of Hello from the Other Side, the Sheffield Wednesday, or the Wednesday Week Sheffield Wednesday preview show, where we welcome in fans of our current or upcoming opponents for the game that we've got coming up. As we've just said, it is Hello from the Other Side, so we wouldn't get away with it without playing our obligatory intro, which I know that Nick is a big fan of. So here we go.
Hello from the other side.
You're having that, mate, aren't you?
Iconic. That's iconic. I didn't know Adele was a Wednesday fan.
She is. She's blue and white. Bleeds blue and white. Nick from the Sheffield United way. I'm going to introduce you first and foremost. How are you doing, mate? I'm
very good, thank you. How are you?
Nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous. I'm twitching. We've just had a little bit of a chat off air. It's suddenly, as we get through the week, the starter, if you like, of Bristol City away and Norwich at home is out of the way, and we're there, aren't we? We're ready for the main course. So let's get straight into it then. Ahead of Sunday, how's the mood around Sheffield United?
Well, we're playing well. On paper, take away the derby thing, we should beat Sheffield Wednesday, but you know as well as I do, that's not how derbies normally go, especially the Sheffield derby. The amount of times we've been the better side and lost and vice versa. You just can't predict anything with this fixture. So it is exciting. It is nerve-wracking. Let's see what happens. We haven't had a derby for a long time, have we? So let's just hope it's not a 0-0 draw, because it just seems like 10 of the last 15 have been 0-0 draws. It's probably not that, but it's boring.
It don't feel far off. I think the last 3 have been 0-0s, haven't they? And we've got nothing to write home about prior to that. I'm sure you might get an opportunity to mention that.
0-0s. At least you've won some of them. I had to get it in there.
We do love a 0-0 win, to be fair. We've got to clutch on to absolutely everything that we can get, if I'm honest with you. But it's one of those. I'm feeling it tonight as we sit and record this on Wednesday. I'm feeling a little bit I'm feeling a little bit of trepidation. And I've gone from being that brash sort of thing, and I'm sure we'll get into it over the next sort of 25-30 minutes or so. But our noisy neighbours right down the road, if you like, have got a lot to shout home about at the minute. I want to sort of get started with you, though, if we could talk about your campaign last season. Not so much on that, but the mood coming out of the Premier League season that you had last year. A little bit of sort of turbulence and uncertainty going into pre-season, going into the summer. How did you feel in terms of ahead of this campaign? How did you think things were? How did you think things were going to go?
Tough, really, because obviously it was a very, very, very difficult season. And I don't think that it's just, obviously, a lot of obviously, you always think about the derbies, the Derby County, record low points. I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of teams going up from the Championship to the Premier League and suffering the way that we did. I just think there's such a massive gap. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a United fan. There's such a massive gap, and you're seeing it this season with Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. All of them, we're practically 10 games in, and they've got kind of like 3-4 points. This is going to keep happening. If you look at that they're not going to pick up a lot of points this season, and obviously they're going to go on runs and things like that. But we thought we were going to go on runs, and we didn't. And it's so difficult, especially when you're not picking those points up, and you kind of losing 2 points towards the end of games and things like that, and you're conceding hundreds of goals like we did. And I'll be honest, going into this season, I think a lot of Blades fans thought it could be another Sunderland where you're going down two leagues in 2 seasons. Obviously, with the takeover just not happening and us keep being trying to be bought by fraudsters, it wasn't looking good. And then Wilder coming.
No comment. I'm sorry. I'm not going to. No comment about the involvement.
We'll cut that.
Edit.
No, but but obviously Chris Wilder coming back in after really, really struggling the last time he was Blades manager in the Premier League. Him coming in, having a little bit of a bounce, and then, we lost, I think it was 7 or 8 games on the bounce at the back end of last season. And then him having to do that rebuild, people not being sure whether Chris Wilder would be the man again to kind of pick us up off his knees. Him having to do the rebuild when all he's known is British players. And yeah, don't get me wrong, a large core of the side are British players. But he likes his kind of Chris Bashams, his David McGoldricks, these players that are journeymen that he knows he can trust. And he's certainly had to trust in younger players this time round. And none of us were really sure how this was going to go this season. I said from the start, and I think you've got to be a little bit confident in your side. I went for us finishing 3rd, I think, but I think that was more kind of hope than expectancy. A lot of fans thinking we're going to finish bottom half. And I always expected with the players that we brought in, it took us a while to kind of make a few signings, but they've certainly been like kind of the signings that we brought. Harry Suter, absolute man mountain. Callum O'Hare has not been fantastic, but that's the caliber of player that we're bringing in, and it's just refreshing to see that we're bringing in these kind of high-profile championship players, if you like. I won't go through all the team because we'll probably get onto that in a little bit. But we've certainly started the campaign off really well.
Yeah, before we go on to sort of the team and the start of the campaign, I just want to pull up that Wilder thread. Obviously, he was almost a deity, wasn't he, for you guys, and in that sort of first run that he had, and then he's left and he's moved on to pastures new, and it felt from. And I'm coming at this as a neutral, not a Wednesday night. It felt that his stock sort of fell a little bit in terms of the sort of the manager. Because at one point we were talking about him potentially being a future England manager, weren't we? How was he received when he came back in? Was it a kind of where he's going to come in and steady the ship? We'll see us to the end of the season. We'll regroup from there. Was he held in the sort of same regard as he was the first time round, or what was the move like over the city?
It's hard to say, really. I think it's kind of 50-50 because lots of fans were really hurt the fact that he left via the back door, because he always said, I think the very first interview he did as Sheffield United manager the first time round was, I'm always going to walk out the front door. And that was his thing. And the fact that during COVID, we couldn't obviously go to games, he left the club. Some said that he got sacked, but been told on good authority that it was a very mutual decision, because Wilder seemed like he was completely gone. Because obviously, being a Sheffield United fan, being a Sheffield boy, ball boy, player, manager, he obviously is going to take that harder than anybody else. And this is a different Premier League season when we got absolutely hammered as well. When Chris Wilder, it's happened too much.
What are we doing? Why are we trying to do it?
I know, exactly. No, it's not fun. It's not fun. But there's a lot of fans out there that still loved him because of what he did. And then there's a lot of fans out there that just resented him for, like I say, leaving when he should have stayed there and kind of, just tried to pick us up a little bit. Because I still think that if it wasn't for Wilder leaving, I think Wilder possibly would have got us straight back up the next season. But I think he was too emotionally damaged at that point, if you like. Because, it took a lot out of him. But fans, when he came back in, I think a lot of us were really excited. But at the same time, as you just mentioned before, his stock certainly had fallen. There's no way Chris Wilder would have got a Premier League job for any other team, or even a job at a higher sort of championship club because he'd gone to Middlesbrough. I think he had a really, really good first season for Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough fans don't really remember that. Second season wasn't as great, and then the Watford job was always going to be difficult for him because I think they'd had 420 managers in like 10 years.
3 months.
3 months. So it was never going to be an easy job, that Watford one. So yeah, I think he's obviously stock's risen again with how well we've started this season. But yeah, it couldn't have got any lower after last season.
Yeah. And I would imagine you touched upon a couple of, you mentioned O'Hare and Suter. I imagine that recruitment has helped him a little bit as well, hasn't it? Who are the sort of the main guys that you brought in for the benefit of those Wednesdayites that only see Sheffield Wednesday? Who are the main players?
Absolutely, because you just look at your own, don't you? Like, I don't really care about any other team other than Sheffield United. I really, really struggle. Even watching Champions League football, I'm just like, I'm not bothered. I'm really not bothered. Someone at work said to me today, "Did you not watch the City game?" I'm like, no. Sheffield United were playing. Like, if I'm going to be watching Man City. Some people just don't understand football. But yeah, Harry Suter has certainly been probably signing of the summer for me because I think the fact that Jack Robinson was injured earlier, and I think Jack Robinson may have started the season if he wasn't injured, but it's probably a good thing because we certainly get that balance when Jack Robinson's playing, but Harry Suter, just a man mountain, and do you know what? He's fantastic at nipping in front of defenders and starting attacks. In front of attackers and starting attacks. I didn't think he had that to his game, picking the ball up and starting like just diagonal balls for days, and you just expect him to be this big man that wins all the headers and a bit slow and a bit sloppy, but no, he's fantastic. Callum O'Hare, like I said, he's not been fantastic for us, I'll be honest. I was really excited. We played Rotherham in pre-season. I know it's Rotherham and I know it's pre-season, but he just looked streets ahead of everyone. And I'm a bit disappointed with how he's been playing recently. While this looks like he's trying to play him into form, I expect him to play again, even though he probably doesn't deserve it at the weekend. Harrison Burrows has scored 2 goals in 2 games from left back. I was very, very excited to see Harrison Burrows put on a red and white shirt. He was a little bit disappointed early on, but I only think that's it. He just needed to kind of get used to the Championship. It's obviously a lot higher level than League One. Obviously not in leagues, but in sort of how quick the Championship pace is, and how, that I think League One to Championship is probably almost as difficult as Championship to Premier League. So it took some settling in. And obviously last night he scored a fantastic goal, 10 seconds to go to win us that game. You don't see many of those last-minute winners, or you don't as a Sheffield United fan, so you've got to enjoy them when they come.
Yeah, we get the peaks and troughs with those. We've had a couple of high-profile ones over the last couple of years, so I can resonate with that one.
Don't remember that.
Let me tell you about that night. That night at Hillsborough on the lights. Trademark.
Yeah.
You mentioned Burrows at left back, and it's just there's an aside that I'm going to ask, and I know we're early. What sort of reception is Max Lowe going to get on Sunday?
Oh, this is going to sound like I'm really bitter. I think he'll get a poor reception for obvious reasons, but I just don't think that Blades fans care about him that much. We didn't really care about him when he was a United player. Yeah. For me, there's a not a famous quote, because not famous in the slightest, but I said a few weeks before or months before he left, Max Lowe is just there. He's not someone that's going to affect a game. He'll be on the left-hand side. He'll give you a lot of energy. He's not a great defender. What he does do is tries to stay out of where the ball is. And he doesn't go and press the play. He just kind of sits back, and if something, he's never at fault for anything because he doesn't really engage the play for me. And that's always the thing. I'd rather someone go and make a mistake than just sit off and just let things just happen around him. Or that's what he did for Sheffield United anyway. I think he was lucky in the fact that we had a really, really good side when we got promoted. He did all right at left wing back, but you could have put anyone else there and they would have done the same job. So he will get booed. I think we all know that he's gone from United to Wednesday. The same thing would happen if it had gone the other way. But I don't care about him that much.
Yeah, he's a very conservative player, isn't he?
Yes.
He plays the percentages. He does things, and from a personal point of view, it was interesting for him coming across because I've been a Wednesday night for nigh on 40 years. I can't remember a United player coming directly to Wednesday, but I'm old enough to remember several going the other way and feeling quite bitter about it. So it was at the time coming out of the Premier League, you're thinking, oh, we're doing a bit of business here. But I won't say he's flattered to deceive, but he's not at that level where you think he's head and shoulders above certain players that have been playing League One 2 years ago, sort of thing. There is a player in a similar position though that also had a bit of time at United. Have you got any memories of Marvin Johnson?
Oh God. We still have nightmares about Marvin Johnson. Again, it's going to make me sound really bitter. He didn't have many good games for us. And the one, if any Sheffield United fans are watching this right now, they'll know exactly what moment I'm going to pick. Bristol City at home, where he just let Andy Vyman just do whatever he wanted to do. And he just bottled everything defensively. Now, I know that he's more of an attacking player. I don't know about you guys. I've not seen him play for Wednesday. But we played him as a wing back. I don't particularly think he's a great defender. I think he's certainly better going forward. And he was a winger. So maybe it was just the fact that he was playing in a position that he wasn't really used to. And like I say, everyone will remember that Bristol City at home game because that was the moment where we were trying to get promoted and we had the back and forth with Leeds. 1 week we'd win and Leeds would lose and the opposite thing would happen. And Bristol City beat us at home and we thought we were dead and buried at that point. We were like, we're going to finish third, go into the playoffs and do what Sheffield United usually do, losing a playoff final. Fortunately, we went and finished second, but we'll always remember Marvin Johnson for that Bristol City game.
We've created a song for him about him once being a winger and now a defender.
Oh, right. Okay, interesting.
And we sing it to Shakira, Waka Waka.
Go on, then. You're going to have to give it me then.
Absolutely not. Hopefully you'll hear it on Sunday. I'd agree with your assessment of him there, to be fair. He's very much a better progressive attacking going forwards. If we play 3 at the back or 5 at the back, the left wing back, he's keeping Maxwell out of the team. Injuries and circumstances have meant that Maxwell's actually been playing left centre half. We set up with a 4 last night and Maxwell played left back in front with Marvin in front of him. But Marvin Johnson has been, he's that bad penny that our managers come in and don't rate him, don't like him, ostracise him a little bit. He spent the first half of last season in Dubai because Chisco didn't want to know. And then when Danny Rule came in, he brought him in, had a mini pre-season and then came back in and absolutely tore it up. In relative terms, he's going to be somebody, if he's on form on Sunday, he's going to be one of our more sort of dangerous players. There's a ball for the first goal. If you get an opportunity to have a look at our first goal last night, that's Marvin Johnson. When he's on it, that's what he does at the moment. And it's absolutely unreal. Having said that, is he going to be up for it and have the bottle for the fight sort of thing on Sunday? I'd be interested to know, because amongst some members of our fan base, they can think he's a little bit of a shirker or a sulker. And when it gets down and dirty, are we gonna have the bottle for it? And I'd question whether or not there's certain other players in the team that are similar. I think if it were who's got the bigger heart, the bigger battle, I think it's probably going to end up being your lot. And it's about what we do to sort of counteract that. And I'll say that, and I'm going to get ripped apart because it's a Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm looking through the team and I'm thinking, who's the man that's going to stand up and be counted when it comes down to it and people start going toe to toe. And I'm not sure how many we've got. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. But we could probably do a podcast in itself on that.
Yeah, see, I would say our team are completely opposite as well, because obviously we've got a manager that's going to instill it into him that this is a massive game. And I'm not saying Danny Roll's not going to do that, but we've certainly had managers in the past that haven't given this game the respect. I think it was Brian Robson did it in the past where we had the much better players, much better team, higher in the division, and he just took it as any other game, and we got beaten. And that's what you can't do. And Chris Wilder will instill it into them all. We've got Ollie Arblaster, who's a blade through and through. He's a fantastic footballer. And Vinny Souza next to him, who is just the strongest bloke I've ever seen play central midfield for Sheffield United. And he's been the best player this season, Vinny Souza. Complete redemption arc from last season, where he said that the reason why he wasn't picked for Brazil was because he was playing in a poor team in the Premier League. And we were like, are you joking? You have been shocking this season. And to go from that with fans kind of baying for blood to being one of our best players and everybody loves him again, that's just football fans. We're all fickle. But we've got two central midfielders that are going to battle for absolutely everything. You probably know about Gus Harmer. He battles for everything as well. We've already had, I think, 3 players already on who've missed games for getting numerous bookings, obviously 5 and more. That's Anel as well. Anel Ahmedodzic is a fantastic defender. Harry Suter in there as well. He's going to be, kicking people and being strong at the back. Kiefer Moore, unfortunately, got injured last night. Probably fortunately for you, because he's another one of those that's going to be sticking his elbows out and trying to hold the ball up for the sort of better players, the more attacking-minded players. We've got.
Does that bring Campbell in up top then?
Yes, I would think so. Because we really don't have anybody else. Brewster's injured as well. Not that Brewster would play. There's absolutely no chance of that happening because Brewster's been, again, not very good this season. I'll put it that way, because I don't like to give players too much grief, because I know Brewster. He seems like someone that really, really wants to do well. He's not a sulker. He'll get stuck in. He wants things to happen for him, but it's just not. He just keeps getting injured and injured and injured. He's got injured again. I don't know how bad that is, but I think Tyrese Campbell will come in. However, last night, Ryan O'Neill, the young Scottish lad that we took from Hamilton Academicals, scored last night for us on his, I think it was his 2nd or 3rd sub appearance. So, he's going to be full of confidence. It feels like such a Chris Wilder thing to do, to throw an 18-year-old strapping young lad to play up front in the derby. It just feels like another Leon Clark moment. Sorry to bring that up. But I think it should be Tyrese Campbell. The head saying Tyrese Campbell, the heart saying give Ryan O'Neill a chance.
Okay. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. The Leon Clark of it all just made my brain just go, oh. He's brought back memories. Not just the derbies, but of kicking Hoardings and us getting relegated into League One back in the day, sort of thing.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah. You've talked about being obviously a United fan and the football that you watch. I would assume that you've had the odd glance over the city at Sheffield Wednesday. What have you made of us this season? Because I think we came into things with a little bit of it was a funny one. We had somewhat of a reputation, having gone on the run that we'd gone on, and the managers stopped being as high as it was. I think they, in the cold light of day, we probably over expected a little bit in terms of where we thought we would be. And I just wonder where you guys think we are.
I thought, like you say, his stock was massive, especially when he was going on TV during the Euros as well. Everyone was like, this guy's on TV for the Euros. He's talking sense. He must be one of the greatest managers in the Championship. And obviously, he did really well last season. And I was expecting Wednesday to start like a house on fire. And you did. You were top of the league, weren't you, after the first game of the season? And that's nice to see. But then, it's not quite gone right for you. And I don't think that's anything to do with Danny Roll. I was looking at the signings that you were making, and it did look like you were signing, for instance, Max Lowe. We all knew what he was about. Is it Jamal Lowe as well?
Yeah.
These sort of journey, not necessarily journeyman Championship players, but players that I would expect to play for bottom end Championship teams. And I know that Danny Roll is a good manager, it just feels like you didn't quite get the right personnel in regards to those players that he can kind of build a real good run with in the Championship. And I've not watched Wednesday too much. I watched your game against Leeds when you lost 2-0. There's absolutely no problem with you losing 2-0 to Leeds. Like the best teams lose 2-0 to Leeds. But no, I've not watched you guys too much this season. Windass seems to be putting the ball in the back of the net. I expected Windass to have left, to be honest. I thought he'd have gone for a new challenge somewhere else. I do think he's a good striker. I don't know what you guys think of him, but I expect him to get a few goals this season.
He's very much maligned, and he's coming up to, I think I'm not sure if it was last night or Sunday coming up. It's his 150th game for us, and he's 61, I think it is, goal involvement, and he's coming up to his 50th goal for the club. So his ratio's one in just over every 3 games. It's the other 2 games when he's not scoring that his stock sometimes falls. He's got very much a body language where people think that he's a bit of a sulker, he whinges, his facial expressions, etc. Yeah. But there's no getting away from it.
Yeah,
he will. If we are going to do anything on Sunday, it will be Josh Windass or somebody like that will be the person that does it, because when it comes to the big games, he steps up. I'm not saying he will on Sunday, but if we are to win the game on Sunday, we will need a bit of magic from somebody like Josh Windass, because Wembley, playoffs, the clutch games at the bottom end of the season, the bottom end of the league last season, he was the man that you go to. The Blackburn game, the Sunderland game, when we guaranteed safety, it was Josh Windass that was pulling the strings, and we do miss him when he's on it. We do miss that sort of creativity. So I'm curious to see what version of Josh Windass turns up on Sunday, and I think if he does turn up, I think he can potentially be the one that gives you a few headaches. So we'll see where we go with that. You've talked your team up. Where can we get at you? If we're going to have any joy, where can we get at Sheffield United on Sunday?
I think I was speaking to my dad earlier on about this, and he was saying about the fact that Wednesday had barely any possession last night against Norwich and won 2-0. And it seemed to be on the break. So I think that's exactly how you play Sheffield United. You'll have probably noticed that we haven't scored too many goals this season. For where we are in the league, we should have scored a lot more goals. We don't concede many goals, so I feel like I am happy with the defence. I'm happy that I feel like you're not going to score against us at Bramall Lane. Famous last words, I know, but I think the way to play us is frustrate us, really kind of pack that midfield to try and win that midfield battle. We do struggle to break teams down at times. Even at Bramall Lane, we struggle to break teams down, and we've struggled to do this for years. When that low block comes in, we just can't seem to get through or round, and quite often it's a hopeful cross into the box from Harrison Burrows, who's got a fantastic cross. But if you've got sort of 3-4 big blokes in the middle of the box heading it away every time, you're going to struggle. And without Kiefer Moore up front, we expect he won't be playing in this game, because Wilder said it looked quite bad, but that could be a Wilder ploy to say that Kiefer Moore's injured when he's not. But yeah, I think that's how you do it. You suffocate us in the midfield. You stop sort of Callum O'Hare doing what he wants to do, and same with Gus Harmer, because Gus Harmer will take it to Wednesday. He will be very, very direct, whereas Callum O'Hare will do the opposite. He'll try to do anything that's not take a man on. Yeah, I think suffocating us in the midfield, pushing us out wide, making us cross the ball, because you'll just be able to head it away for days, and then trying to catch us on the break, because we will push men forward and really go for it, I'm sure, because Wilder will want to win this game. He won't see this as just another game. And he got asked in midweek, kind of, have you got one eye on Sunday? And he said no, but I know for a fact that he would have. And looking at the team that he put out last night, there were a lot of surprising selections. And obviously we won the game, which is great to see. We may have not deserved to win the game against Bristol City, but we won the game, and that's what promotion vying teams do. But yeah, I'm sure that Wilder will be playing our full strength side and really going for the jugular in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that and how we'd set up, because last night, as I said, we'd gone to, it was a flat back four that we've not played for a long time. It almost looked like a 4-1-4-1 at times, or a 4-2-3-1, a variation of that. Game was done. Game was done by half time. We'd won the game. And then he's decided to change it, made a couple of subs fairly early on. One was in force. Iorfa went off with a bit of a knock to the head. I think he's going to be all right for Sunday, thankfully, because he's, you know, when he's at it again, he's one of those players that we're going to be calling on to sort of shore up things at the back. But we went to a 5, and it wasn't a 3 with wing backs; it was a 5, and it almost became a training game where we said, right, we're going to sit as 5. The Johnson and Valerie, you're going to come in, and we've got 3 centre halves. You're going to sit, and we're just going to practice that low block, 3 in front. And we'll break when we can break. And it was a variation of 5-3-2 or 5-4-1 at times. And we did that fairly early in the second half. And, you know, with hindsight, I got to sort of 70, 75 minutes, and I thought, are we trying things for Sunday here? Because for the possession that they had, we were setting up with a totally different game plan to things that we'd done previously. Maybe it was to shore things up after Saturday, I don't know. But it looked like we were trying things on Sunday. So to hear you describe how we'd set up to try and counter is a really interesting way to look at it. So yeah.
I think we're going to need those attack-minded players to really go for it and take risks. Like, we've got young lad from Crystal Palace on loan, Jezza Raksake, who he will be a player. He will be a player in the Premier League for Palace. I think he's on the sort of Elise pathway to Palace's first team. He was fantastic at Charlton last season before last.
Yeah,
I think it was a leg break last season that stopped him going out on loan again. But he started a little bit slowly, but he's certainly coming into his own now. Scored a few goals, could have scored more as well. So I think we will be predominantly going down that right with him just having license to take on, whether it's Max Lowe or Marvin Johnson. I think he'll enjoy that. We'll say. So it's whether you kind of double up on him, because you know he's probably our only really direct player. Gus Harmer, obviously, I've mentioned earlier, will try to be direct. It's whether we play him on the left or whether he plays through the middle as an attacking midfielder. But we've certainly got talent in there. It's just whether we've got the talent on the day to unlock that door. Yeah,
I'm looking for genuinely. We've gone into it and we've started being really sort of shit. I'm scared. I'm looking forward to it now. I am. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the derby itself. Where do you think it ranks in terms of football rivalries in the UK? Because we're not Premier League, and it's been a while since we've had one. Where would you put the Sheffield derby?
I think that makes it more special that we don't play each other every season. And it's such a weird way of how it's worked out, because we almost keep mirroring each other, us being a league above you, and then you going down, us going down, you going up, us going up. And we've just missed each other so much in recent years. And obviously we haven't had one for, 5 years, 6 years, something like 5 years. Yeah. I think when we play Wednesday, it ranks right at the top, like maybe just below kind of Rangers and Celtic, because that's fierce mental. For many reasons. I don't think we're quite on that level, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, I saw someone a while back saying that, I worked in Sheffield and everybody in Sheffield supports Man United and Liverpool. I'm like, have you ever been to Sheffield? Like, I don't know anyone born in Sheffield who supports a big six club. Like, and that's what I love about this derby. It's just when you meet someone, if you go on holiday and you meet someone from Sheffield, the first question you ask is, United or Wednesday? Every time. And they say one or the other. Or I don't like football, which you're in Sheffield. Like, of course you should like football. Like, you go to like rugby towns and you're like, you don't support a football team? Like, what's all that about? But no, I absolutely think it ranks right up there. I think it's very, very disrespected. I think it's probably one of the most disrespected derbies around, because you look at these kind of list that they do on Twitter and stuff. And I think
the elite tier, the elite, very good, and all of that.
All that rubbish, yeah.
What are we doing?
We're always like bottom 2, and it's like, are you actually joking? And I think it's recency bias, really, because a lot of fans of, because we know that it's a massive. Oh my god, I said massive. We know that we know that it's a big derby. But I think the fact that we haven't played each other in such a long time, people forget how big it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing for me, I totally agree with you. The thing for me that sets it aside is there's a rivalry without an absolute hatred amongst the majority of people. We don't hate each other. People will go and there's a mix. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not like we are a park away. And I actually envy, we talk about it on the podcast all the time. I actually envy the fact that you're geographically, you are set up to anybody coming in to Sheffield and saying, right, I'm a student, I want to go and watch some football. They can fall out of their dorms and go and watch Sheffield United, who are playing at a higher level recently and doing it for cheaper. Whereas if you want to come and watch Sheffield Wednesday, we are a destination that you've got to get to, so you've got to get on the tram. You've got to get through town, which is a ball lake on a Saturday. You've got to get down through Shalesmoor, down Penistone Road, and then get into the links to get to Hillsborough. An absolute frigging nightmare. But at the end of the day, there's such a mix. There are United fans that live in Hillsborough, and there are Wednesdayites that live. I grew up in Sharrow. I grew up on Sharrow Lane. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Literally around the corner. And where my mum lives at the minute, where Wednesday, we grew up as Wednesday, the next door neighbour's got a massive United flag. And it's that sort of thing. And you get that all over. I know you get it. And maybe it's me being sort of melancholy and sentimental because it's my doorstep and what have you. But I've always been very much of the mind that the ultimate for me, as a football fan, I want people talking about football in Sheffield. And to that end, this season, I'd love to win the league. United to finish second. Everybody looking at us. And us beating you twice would be, the absolute goal. And I'm sure, realistically, there'd be people who were probably screaming at the radios or screaming at the computer screens or whatever now, going, he's talking absolute bollocks. I want Wednesday down. I want them down into non-league and this, that, and the other, and vice versa. But it's good for the city. The rivalry's good. The banter when it's done right is good. And I absolutely love it. Like I've said, I'm scared to death, but I'm looking forward to it at the same time. So, for me, it's one of those. It's going to be the biggest game that we've had in God knows how long.
The funny thing is, as well, you speak to, like, obviously we've had a bit of a rivalry with Leeds in recent years because of league position and geographically as well. Obviously, they're not even, they're probably the 4th or 5th closest team to us. If you count it in kind of Rotherham, Chesterfield, Barnsley, it's not the same rivalry. We've got a bigger rivalry with Leeds than those other clubs. Yeah, but there's nothing like your own city derby. Like, they will never have that. Leeds will never have that. You've got other clubs that will just, even like Norwich and Ipswich, are just so far away. Like, there's nothing better than having two people, like you say. I used to work. I don't work in Sheffield right now. I live in Sheffield, but I work in Wakefield. So I'm actually feeling like it's going to be, if we did lose, we're not. But if we did lose, it's not going to feel as it won't feel as real as when I worked in Sheffield. And I used to work in an office in at the bottom of Prince of Wales Road, half United fans, half Wednesday fans. And going in on Monday morning was hell if you've lost. Yeah. And not in the fact that you just get absolutely rinsed. And that's fine. You would all day. It'd be horrible. But you're just like, right, focusing on the next derby, putting it right. Not that we can do anything about it, but no, it's special when you everybody around you is either one or the other, because like I've got loads of mates who are Wednesday fans, and when you guys went up and we didn't in League One, that was one of the hardest times to be friends with said people. And luckily, we've had better times in recent times, but that was the hardest for me. That was the hardest time to be a Blade.
It's all cyclic, isn't it? Because you've had your own ways back since. I'm not going to mention the last time you came and scored 4 goals at Hillsborough. Absolutely not. So let's move on quickly. Last few questions then. We're going to wrap it up. Where do you see both teams finishing this season? What are your expectations for Wednesday and United this year?
Wednesday, I expect them to be between 10th and 14th, possibly. Might be going a little bit high there. I expected before the start of the season you to finish between 6th and 12th. I've revised that and think a little bit lower. But I don't think any of you actually expected that you were going to be going up this season. I don't think the level-headed Wednesday fans wouldn't have thought that. But it's a season to not be sort of relegation rivals, shall we say. I wasn't going to say fodder because I expected you guys to go down last season, which I think most did kind of halfway into the season. But obviously you escaped it. And this season, for me, for Wednesday, it's kind of like let's make sure we are respectable. We're a team that people aren't going to roll over week in, week out. And let's finish halfway up the table and then have a good go at it the season after. So that's where I think Wednesday's going to finish. United, I'm stuck between 2nd and 6th, really. I don't see us finishing any lower than 6th. Against Blackburn the other weekend, we went to Blackburn and absolutely dominated them from start to finish. I think people are going to really struggle to score goals against us. And if we can keep on winning games 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, I think we'll be fine. I just don't know whether we've got the individual players are good enough to get us top 2. So I think we'll probably finish. I'll stick my neck out and say I think we'll finish 3rd. I just don't think we're quite good enough for those top 2, but I think we're certainly good enough to be mixing it with the top 2.
Question for you then, just off the back of that, it's just come to me. Would you rather finish 2nd and beat us twice, or finish 3rd to 6th and win both derbies?
That's too difficult. It's even harder because we've not played each other in such a long time, because it'll feel so special if we do beat Wednesday after such a long time of not playing each other. I think my head's telling me go up, but I can't have Wednesday fans having so much bragging rights over us. Oh my God. I think I probably would have to say 2nd because it's for the greater good. But at what cost?
It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Just about. I think what I will say is the thing with us is when you get promoted, and a lot of teams do the same thing. When you get promoted and come back down, you've got between 1 and 3 years to go back up, and the 3rd year your parachute payments massively fall. And if you've not cut your cloth accordingly or well enough, you could really, really struggle. So I think that the fact that we've had this kind of done a bit of a Norwich and gone up and down, I think that's stood us in good stead. But I still think that if we don't go back up within the next 2 years, we might end up being one of those kind of Watford teams where they're just kind of mid-table. And me growing up, I think we were kind of in the Championship for like 15 years or something like that. When I never experienced us getting anywhere near getting promoted. And then all of a sudden we've had all this amazing success. Well, relatively to us,
it's relative.
It's relative.
Us. It is.
Getting promoted a couple of times is really, really special. It's not as special the next couple of times. When you got promoted the first time, it's really special. After a bit, it's just kind of like people just expect you to get promoted, and then if you don't, it's terrible. But yeah, we just need to make sure we get promoted again, just to keep hold of some of these really good players and not fall down the league.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for you. Last question. Score prediction.
I knew that was coming. I've said on our channel 2-0. We won a lot of games 2-0 this season. We seem to know how to win 2-0. We get an early goal and we kind of sit on it for a bit and then find that little bit of magic to finish the game off. But I know how tight these games are, and I still think we're going to win. I can't bring myself to saying that we're going to draw. I don't actually think that will happen. I think we'll win this game. It might be 1-0, it might be 2-0, but I can't see Wednesday coming to Bramall Lane and scoring. Just can't see it. People are going to clip it. I know they are. People are going to clip it.
Yeah.
When Josh Windass scores after 2 minutes.
Bookmarked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be pragmatic. I would take a point all day long and twice on Sunday, ironically. At this stage of the season, I put a little tweet out last night. If you look at our last 10 games, it's win, draw, loss, win, draw, loss. We've won 4, drawn 3, lost 3. I think that's the variation in some sort of order. We are currently probably one of the most mid-table teams going. We need a little bit of stability, and I'd like to think that after last Saturday and coming off Tuesday night last night, that we'll be in shape to come in and put up a bit of a fight. And I'd take a scrappy point, frustrate United, and see if we can hit one on the break. I'd be more than happy with that. So I'm going 0-0. Sidebar 1-0 to us on the break because I'm on a podcast and I can see a 0-0.
I can see a 0-0 happening. I can. We've seen so many of them. I can see a 0-0 happening. However, one of the lads on our channel, he did mention that I think is it 2 more games and you get the record for the
penalties,
longest time without a penalty. And he's like, we're absolutely nailed on to give you a penalty at Bramall Lane. It'll just happen. So I think he went 2-1 to the Blades because of that, or it might have gone 1-1, but it's certainly going to be tight. There's no 4-0s or 5-0s happening. I'm sure of it.
Click that as well.
Yeah. No, it won't. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think you'll sit in. I think you'll defend well. Like you say, I think you'll try and hit us on the break, and I think we'll be frustrated. It's whether we can get that goal or not. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Before we go, we have gone long, by the way, but I think it's necessary on a derby sort of preview show. Floor's yours if you want to give Wednesday fans that want to go and have a bit of a crack by looking at what the other half of the city are doing. Do you want to tell us about your channels?
Yeah, we get loads of Wednesday fans on there anyway because you care about us more than you do about yourselves. I'm only joking. There's probably loads of Wednesday fans that absolutely hate my guts from me giving banter on Twitter. At the end of the day, I just think it's banter. I don't actually care that much. It's not really that deep for me. I just like to poke a bit of fun every now and then, which Wednesday fans like to do at United as well. You certainly were able to poke a lot of fun at us last season. So, got to give it back when you can. But, we're over on Sheffield United Way on YouTube, on all podcast services, on Twitter, everywhere. It's at Sheffield United Way. So if you want to, like I say, go back and have a little laugh at some of my match reactions after losing 8-0 to Newcastle, losing 6-0 to Arsenal, go for it. Every view's a view, even if it's a dislike. It still helps the channel. So I'd appreciate it.
Mate, thank you. That's absolutely brilliant. And for the regular listeners, viewers, watchers, you'll see on the banner at the bottom of our screen on YouTube at the minute, our channels. We're on absolutely everything. Find us most active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you do come along, give us a like and subscribe, and as Dan Fudge would say, ring that bell, because every little interaction does help us grow what we're doing. In the meantime, I'm going to see you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m, it's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in, I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.